Before she was a scientist, before the storm ever chose her, she was just a girl who loved snow. Elara Mendez was born during the coldest winter in 60 years in icebound January that snapped tree limbs like twigs and painted entire cities in white silence. Power lines fell, rivers froze. The air itself seemed to hold its breath. But while others bundled up, fearful of frostbite and slick roads, Elara was different. She wasn't afraid. At just 4 years old, she would sneak out of her grandmother's cabin in the early hours of morning, barefoot and grinning, to stand in the snow. She'd stretch her hands to the sky like she was greeting an old friend. She didn't shiver. She didn't cry. She laughed, spinning in circles as snowflakes landed in her lashes. Neighbors called her odd. Her teacher said she had an obsession with cold environments. But her grandmother, she only smiled. Her abuela was a quiet, weather-worn woman from the northern tribes of Chile, keeper of forgotten stories and sacred silence. She spoke little, but when the fire crackled just right and the snow beat gently at the windows, she would lean in and whisper, "You were kissed by winter, Minia." And winter always remembers who it kisses. Elara never fully understood what that meant, but she believed her. Then came the dream. She was 7. In the dream, Elara stood alone on a frozen lake that shimmered like glass. The stars above were unfamiliar, burning silver against an ink-black sky. Everything was quiet. Too quiet. Not even the wind moved. Then, in the distance, a low rumble. Not thunder. Something deeper. A voice, ancient and cold. "You're not ready, but you will be." The clouds opened and from the edge of the trees came movement. A panther. But not any panther. This one glowed faintly blue, as if its fur was carved from glacier ice. Its paws made no sound. Its breath steamed in heavy clouds. It walked to her slowly, then stood between her and the rising wall of wind that approached from the horizon like a tidal wave of snow. It didn't growl. It didn't attack. It protected her. Then came a flash like lightning, but colder, and she woke up in bed with a gasp, her sheets damp with sweat. She didn't tell anyone, but the next morning, she found her sketchbook open on her nightstand. Drawn across the pages in fine, precise strokes were snowflakes, hundreds of them, each one different, intricate, stunning, but not hers. She hadn't drawn them. She didn't understand what it meant. Not then, but deep down, she knew something had changed. Something inside her had heard the storm, and something in the storm had heard her. It would be years before she'd see the panther again, years before the glacier whispered her name. But when it did, it wouldn't be a dream. It would be the beginning. Years passed. The dream faded, but never fully disappeared. The image of the ice panther lived in the corners of Elara's mind like a half-remembered memory you're not sure was ever yours. She buried it in textbooks and research papers. She stopped telling stories, stopped playing in the snow, but winter never forgot her. By 28, Elara Mendez was a rising name in climate science, an expert in cryogenics, glacial shifts, and deep polar anomalies. Her peers admired her precision. Her students feared her intensity. She claimed it was all about the data, but secretly, she was still chasing that dream, that voice, that moment where the ice had looked back at her. And then she found Serig Glacier. It wasn't supposed to exist. It had no coordinates, no official record. Only whispers passed between failed expeditions and broken satellite scans, reports of a glacier that moved when it shouldn't, one that seemed to grow even as the world warmed. The Inuit hunters called it Amarak Nunap, the silent land. They warned her not to go, but Elara had already booked the flight. She took a team of 6, 2 engineers, 3 assistants, 1 skeptic. The first 5 days were uneventful. Snow, silence, ice drills, frozen air so cold it cracked their boots. But the deeper they drilled, the stranger it became. The compass readings began to fail, their communication spotty, then dead. The sky above the glacier grew darker by the day, even at noon. And the ice? It wasn't clear. It shimmered, like something beneath the surface was moving. Then came the signal, a seismic pulse, low and steady, emanating from a cavern just beneath their main dig site. No known fault line, no tectonic explanation, just a pulse. Like a heartbeat, Elara ordered an emergency descent. She and two others dropped into the cavern by line, lowering themselves into what they thought was a hollow cave. But what they found was not hollow. They landed in a chamber lit by its own wall.